I think we're going to go ahead and get started because I know everybody wants to, you have a busy Saturday, and I so appreciate everybody being here. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did, and it's been a eye-opening sessions for me. One thing I want you to know, I learned a lot of things. I hope you did too. Everybody, I hope you know that 988 is the suicide hotline. I know it was referred to several times. A lot of people aren't aware of that. There is a directory of mental health professionals of Asian Americans. I hope you know about that. I hope you know the meaning of MENA, Middle Eastern North African, right? That's a new category for census. I want you to be aware of the Ibn Sina resource guide. Everybody gets a copy of this. Make sure that you have, because a lot of people said, well, don't we have any kind of resource guide? Yes, we do. And they put together a very, very nice one. So Mr. If I had copies, if anybody didn't get one. I wanted to say before we go to, is that there's been many people saying, we need to continue this. And so, you know, there is the Asian American Health Coalition, but I can see it having a section, an area where people will really focus on mental health. And I've also heard the idea of continuing the Asian Cancer Council that used to exist, that we need to continue that. And then the other thing that I know I've learned is that we need to create a vocabulary for mental health for our Asian community, because so many times I've heard the thing, there's no words for us in that about that. So anyway, I wanted to introduce our closing speaker. She's a friend of mine. She's written a book. Her name is Dr. An Lan Nguyen, and she's going to give you your call to action. Before you go to, I hope that you will do the evaluation. I think we'll show that at the end. There's a QR code to do that for the entire summit. So, and also, again, if you want to do CEUs, make sure you document it that you were attending in each session. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the program over to my friend An Lan Nguyen.
Testing. Do you hear me correct? Me okay? All right. We closing the event, but there's so much info. Who agree with me that there's so much information, good information here throughout this conference? Raise your hands. Yes. So before anything, I want to acknowledge the sleepless night of all of my dear friends. Dr. Beverly Gore, Rogine, Calvert, where are you? And the whole organizing committee for spending countless time to put this together. Do you agree that they did an awesome job? Yes, let's give them a round of applause, right? So let's also reflect a little bit about this conference. By a show of hands, how many of you have gained some insight, some good things, some beautiful way that you want to apply for your job or for your workplace? Raise your hand. I think it's just wonderful, right? And how many of you have made new friends, have connections, and then we're thinking about some collaboration in the future? Raise your hands. If you don't raise your hand, I will ask you at the end to be part of the next step after this AAPI summit, because it's so much needed. Our communities need it. So thank you, Beverly, Rogine, and the whole organizing committee. As we go into 2024, there's a set of own challenges. So each of us need to be really resilient and be on top of the game. Let me do another show up. And how many of you here are service provider for mental health wellness, or educator or researcher related to mental health? Raise your hands. I guess everybody does, right? And throughout this program, we learned so much about the needs of our community, AAPI community. And as a providers of this service, I just want to really appreciate each of you, because it is so much needed in our community right now. But in order for you to improve the impact that you have, not only focus on the quality of the service you provide, but also how can you show up at your best self, right? At your best self, because at the bottom line, you are the person that will interact with deliver the service, right? So how can we show up with our best self? And that is what the message that I want to share with you today. Now, every second, our conscious brain can only process about 40 to 50 bits of information out of 11 million bits. Every second, 11 million bits of information go to your brain. You can only process about 45 to 50 bits. So actually, each of us experience the world through a lens. You want it or not, you can only process that 40, 50 bits. How can you select those 40, 50 bits to the best so that you can have joy even in a really tough day and everything? That lens will determine your state of being. That lens will decide how you can react to things along the way, right? And I want to introduce to you a lens. It's called the lens of grace. So grace, let me try. Okay, so grace is a very simple acronym of 5 values. The G stands for gratitude. The R stands for respect. The A stands for accountability. C stands for courage. And last is E stands for engagement. Now, these are common sense values, right? Everybody knows about this. But knowing about this and practice it and be it, that makes all the difference. And the lens of grace, it will enable and activate the power from within your heart. And that is where all the difference was made. Okay, so what is the lens of gratitude? The lens of gratitude is the ability to really look at everything around you and see the miracle of who you are. Actually realize that we are a miracle ourselves. Like look into your body, 50 trillion cells working harmoniously to keep you alive. How wonderful is that, right? And have you pay attention to the heart? Your heart beating 100,000 times a year. They beat every second. Even throughout your sleep, they still beat because if they don't beat, you die, right? But have you really noticed that awareness? So the lens of gratitude really helps you to anchor on the beauty of things around us, all right? And gratitude is the truly antidote of depression. And there's so many scientific studies already on gratitude, right? So that is the foundation of this grace method. But from gratitude, when you practice gratitude, it leads to respect. The lens of respect, I'm talking about self-respect first. How can you prioritize self-care and self-love? How many of you here, I know that you work with helping mental health and everything, but how many of you think that you prioritize self-care and self-love? You raise your hand. Only a couple of hands, right? You see? That is so much needed because if you don't show up your best, how can you bring that energy to other people? So self-respect is practice self-love and self-care and truly show up as your authentic self because you are unique. Each of you here, like I cannot emphasize enough, each of you is a miracle. And without you, there is no humanity. But without the 8 billion people on this earth, there is no you. That interconnectedness is just truly precious. And practice respect also help you to practice empathy. And I know that each of you here already have that a lot. But how can you foster that lens so that you go through the day and still give yourself that peace, that wonderful sense of uniqueness that you are a miracle, right? So accountability is, the lens of accountability is taking 100%, I repeat, 100% ownership of what? Your thoughts. Because thoughts lead to what? Emotions. And emotion lead to action. How can we be responsible 100% of your action? It starts with your thoughts. So every day, regardless of who you are, we have 86,400 seconds, right, to spend, regardless, right? How you want to spend it is okay. But the lens of accountability is every second of the day, how can you turn it into something beautiful, something joyful, so that it can give you the sacred energy? And I will talk about that energy later. But all of this lead to accountability would be you make a commitment to yourself that every single second of the day, you will know what your thoughts, work with your negative thought. Of course, like you already think about, coping and mechanism and all of those, right? So I'm just talking about for us as the therapist, for us as the support provider, we need that too, right? I saw a lot of nothing, right? So accountability is hard. It's not easy. So you need the next one, which is courage. Courage is the ability to really, it doesn't mean that you don't have fear, but you embrace the fear. You go through it. And how many of you here have faced some situation that really, you're not sure this happened before, like you step into the unknowns? How many of you think about having some obstacle that you had not been able to know what the solution will look like? But you step into it because you believe that you had the capability to overcome it. And that is the lens of courage. The lens of courage rely on, courage starts from courage in French is heart. Your heart is a wonderful, wonderful organ. And I cannot emphasize enough. I heard that some of the scientists on neuroscience say that the heart, we only utilize about 5%. So 95% of energy within the heart has not been utilized. So how can we activate? If each of you in this room activate that 95% of the heart, oh my gosh, the power, the collecting power from this room is unimaginable. But that starts with you, right? And the last one, when you practice all of these four, the last one is engagement. The lens of engagement is that you really have to show up. You really have to be connected. Connect to yourself, right? Connect with others and bring out each of the unique gift to serve the society, the communities. And the community, like I went through all of the workshop section and I saw a crying need from our youth, from our, like I work with youth mostly, so I have a little bit favoritism, but also our elderly people. That population getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's so many issues that we, as a collecting power in this room, can solve. We cannot do it alone. We need everybody to be in this together. And actually, we are in this together, regardless of race, of culture, of language. We are one. Don't you sense that, the sense of oneness? And how can we bring that into the current situation so that we can make happen? So actually, when you practice grace, it unlocks the energy. And we talked about mind, body, and spirit, right? And the method is so simple, but it's worked. Like I wrote this book in 2020, and then I shared the program, we implement the program throughout the COVID for free. You can check out like livingyourbestlife.grace.com. We have a whole bunch of series of how to get free of stress, how to cope with worries, how to cope with grief. So all of you like can speak that language, right? Like you are all the experts in the room. How can we bring that together as a community so that any kids, any person who is has some issue or problem, they have some place to go to? That is so important. And the key thing, but again, I want to go back to the original thing, which is each of you, you have a responsibility to take good care of yourself because it starts with you, each of you in this room. How can we really take care of this so that you can become what I call living in grace spirit, right? Living in grace, it will activate the energy of the heart. And there's so many stories, but I know that we are run out of time. You want to have to hear one story? Okay, so one story. Last Sunday, I finished my 5th half marathon. How many of you running some half marathon? And you know, when I was in my 40s, if somebody tells that, Anlan, you're going to do a half marathon, I would laugh at them. But my knees were the problem. We're in my 40s. Now I'm 60s, right? And you can see, I could not imagine I could do that. until some mentor pushed me out of comfort zone, say, Anh Lan, you can do it. I'll give you 8 months, do training, whatever you do. And the first half marathon, let me tell you, I finished it in 3 hours, 59 minutes and 58 seconds. So I had like 2 seconds, otherwise I could be disqualified. And I continue to go back like 4 hours. They give you 4 hours to compete. I couldn't run. So I walk fast. That's all, right? And 5 years fast forward. And thanks to COVID, I become more fit, right? And let me tell you, when I finished that finish line this past weekend, I look back, my body was totally transformed. My health was totally transformed. And it all started because I practiced grace. I truly take accountability. I appreciate myself. So I prioritize self-care and self-love and all of that. So living in grace, it truly, really enhance and helping you. And there is, I saw someone from MD. How many of people from MD Anderson Cancer Center here? Yeah, all of my former colleagues, right? So I left MD Anderson Cancer Center. I love the institution, from the institution that I got my PhD. But again, I left that 7 years ago to follow my passion in youth empowerment and civic education, and follow living in grace. And 7 years later, now I can attest you that I lived the best 7 years of my life. And that because you truly live what you are meant to live. And each of you, I know you are in the right profession. Like you help people, right? But you start with you. So never forget that. And I want to end with this call to action. But before that, I want to share with you, because this is just like each of us is helping and bringing compassion, love, and connection to your patients, right? To your community. But sometimes we forgot to be joyful. Sometimes we forgot. And Rabindranath, who know Rabindranath Tagore? He's just very famous, right? I love this poet. He said, I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. And I acted, and behold, service was joy. How can you bring that joy into your daily routine? I want to invite you to, first of all, my book. I will do a raffle. So the book is just a short read, and people can ask me to pass around. That you just write your name and email. We do a raffle. I'll give out the 3 books. For whoever that, and you can check out my website at drannlan.com if you want to have an ebook, right? But this one is free. This one is just 1 hour, allowing you to walk into 2024 with grace. If you want to have some more concept about how I can take care of myself, how can I love myself and be myself, go and join me next Thursday, just for 1 hour. And there's a QR code. I have the flyer that will be sent out and pick outside. But again, there's so much opportunities. And when I left MD Anderson, I think that service is the key things. And how can you? These are all the information. But what I would like to refer back to Beverly again. Thank you, Beverly. Thank you, Roisin, and the whole organizer. But this is just the beginning. Don't you agree? This is just the beginning. And I heard the talk from John Woo, and he mentioned about the stigma of mental health. How can we change that narrative? And we need to do that not just for our community. We need to do that for parents, for teachers, for school administrators, for officials, school officials. Everybody need to be known about the importance of mental health. And if we don't say that mental health, you can say maybe emotional wellness, right? Maybe something that is a little bit less be perceived. Oh, I'm not crazy, I'm not crazy. That stigma is just so big, especially for Asian American. And again, I roll out this race so successfully throughout COVID in Vietnam to thousands of people, to the youth. Right now, the book is being translated into Nepali and Hindi to do a suicide prevention using the GRACE framework in over there. But I don't have anything here. I cannot do, this thing by myself. I need collaborators. So come to my workshop if you're interested. And I really love to work with all of you to bring grace to our community, but mostly focus on you guys, because you guys will be the light. That light not coming from outside, that light coming from your own beautiful heart. So be that light, be that beacon of light for everybody that you serve. And I wish you the best. Thank you.
Like I say, if you want to be in the raffle for one of her books,
yeah,
you have 1 or 2 books you're going to give away. Anyway, we appreciate Dr. Online giving us a word of encouragement as we end our summit. I do want to recognize again all of our sponsors. They're listed here. We really thank you all so much, AARP.
And get into the box, right?
Houston Asian American Archives at the Weiss Chow Center, the Rupani Foundation, Harris County Public Health, Harris County Public Library, Memorial Hermann Southwest, United Healthcare, WellPoint, Houston Health Department, St. Luke's, I think I got them all. Hogg Foundation for Mental Health too. So thank you so much. I also want to give special recognition to my committee. They were also listed in your program. I want to they're all listed there. But again, special thanks to the planning committee, the staff of the Hope Clinic, Dr. Karakostas, Shane, Yoshira, Anila, Justin, Chow. They've been just wonderful. They worked very, very hard for this summit. So give them all a round of applause, please. Thank you. So like Dr. Nguyen said, this is just the beginning. I hope you will continue to stay in touch with us, and that we can build again the Asian American Health Coalition, I think, and develop some momentum from it. I just want to share one personal thing. I really wondered if we could pull this off. And it has been a labor of love for many of us, because it was all done on volunteer time. But things were going kind of rough. And then I lost a friend to suicide very unexpectedly in October, and it really shook me up. And it was an affirmation that, yes, she was a Chinese lady, very happy all the time. And we were all shocked in our community when she took her own life. And I said, I think this is a sign that we need to wake up, look at each other, care for each other, and be able to notice the signs of what's going on in our community, because that is so typical. Nobody knows about people suffering in silence. So I wish you all well. God bless you all, and I hope I see you soon. Thank you for being here.